Hello, my name is Miles Joseph, and I will be presenting today about bisphosphonates and how they can help to reduce bone loss and prevent osteopenia and osteoporosis. Osteopenia and osteoporosis are both of the same nature. Excuse me. Osteopenia is the results of the body absorbing more bone than it is replacing, and therefore it creates more porous bone. Bone under a microscope already looks like a honeycomb or a sponge, and whenever osteopenia or osteoporosis begins to set in, the holes in the honeycomb or begin to grow, and whenever they grow, that means that mineral density is going elsewhere, and that in turn weakens the bone. During menstruation, the ovaries renew themselves, and in this process, the body loses a substantial amount of blood. In that blood, there are high levels of calcium, phosphorus, and iron. And due to this now loss of said calcium, phosphorus, and iron, the body must find new places to get this calcium, phosphorus, and iron. In our case, the calcium and phosphorus are the most important things because they come from the bone. These are the minerals that make up our bones. So when the body does not have enough of these already floating around in the bloodstream, then it goes to a place where it knows it has it, the bones. That begins the removal process, and this weakened bone is more susceptible to injury. But to understand why, it is important to know how bone is formed. Bones go through ossification throughout adolescence, and until the bones ossify all the way past the endothelial plates and ossify the endothelial plates themselves, they will continue to grow in length. But once those endothelial plates have been calcified or ossified, then bone goes through two processes called modeling and remodeling. Modeling is the process of moving bone from one place and replacing it elsewhere, while remodeling is the removal of bone from one location and its replacement to that same location. The remodeling process requires three biochemical markers: parathyroid hormone, osteocalcin, and vitamin D. These three need to balance to form bone. So what does this mean? For this paper, it is important because bone loss happens with age. And with that age, it can be accelerated depending on your gender. Osteoporosis is more common in women due to the nature of menstruation and menopause's effect on the body. During menstruation, although this process stops during menopause, menopause creates its own challenges. During menopause, the body produces much lower amounts of estrogen and progesterone. These are key hormones to the female reproductive process, and they in turn decrease mineral content in bone. Bisphosphonates can be used to help prevent this because they are synthetic PPIs or synthetic pyrophosphate enzymes. So this enzyme binds to receptors where calcification and mineralization happen. Bisphosphonate prevents the resorption of calcium and phosphorus through binding in these sites and preventing the further binding of other hormones that lead to mineralization. These bisphosphonates are also known for their prevention of osteoclast and osteoblast apoptosis. Osteoclast and osteoblast apoptosis is the self-destructing mechanism. It is a normal process of all cells in the body, but due to the bisphosphonate's nature and its ability to prevent the apoptosis of both of these cells, it can further mitigate the loss of bone by allowing those cells to live longer. And while it may be older bone material, it is still better than that bone material not being there anymore. Bisphosphonates are currently the number one clinically used medication to prevent osteopenia and osteoporosis. Bisphosphonates have proven that they are extremely effective even after just one use. However, bisphosphonates' most surprising results come after some time. Bisphosphonates have proven that in 2 years or more, they can decrease the risk of fracture by 21%. This is quantified by a reduction of risk by 35% in the hip and 15-ish% in the arm, in the radius. This significant decrease in fracture risk is important because elderly adults are more prone to fall. When they begin to age, their fine motor skills begin to deteriorate. Due to this, when older people fall, they're more likely to break bones due to this lower bone mineral density. Bisphosphonates can help to prevent this break, that can reduce this by 21%. That's important because our healthcare system deals with $50 billion worth of fall-related revenue. The Medicaid and Medicare systems take about 75% of that, being $37.5 billion a year. Now, if we can use bisphosphonates to reduce this by 21%, then we could bring that down by a staggering number. However, for bisphosphonates to prevent this type of monetary loss, we must use them in a preventative way. Bisphosphonates are currently prescribed after someone is diagnosed with osteoporosis and osteopenia, usually after they have suffered a fracture in the first place. So if we were to scan and predict people developing osteopenia and osteoporosis, then we could implement bisphosphonates early enough where they can reduce fracture risk by 21%, therefore lowering costs, lowering the strain on the national healthcare system. And that, with the research that I mentioned, is how I believe bisphosphonates can help to further reduce osteopenia and osteoporosis.